Hello and welcome along to another video. Today the weather's a little bit on the dull side. It's raining, so there's lots of things I could be doing on the allotment and in the back garden, but with the soil being a little bit wet and sticky, I'm going to do one or two jobs inside. Well, I say inside, which is actually in my sort of potting area between my two sheds. And what I'm doing today, for starters, is I've just taken out my Dahlia Tubers from storage, and I'm just loosening off the rest of the soil that's around the tubers. I'm going to take out one or two damaged tuber, cut off a few of these long shoots or long roots that we don't need, and I've also got a label on here. Now this is a variety called Luca, Joanna, and the date I've got on there is the 18th of February 2024, which is the date that I actually planted this dahlia into a pot for it to sort of establish itself and get going. And then I think it was about May, or towards the back end of May or beginning of June, I then planted them out into the garden. I don't usually take the tubers indoors and store them. We have quite a nice climate down here in Dorset, so over the years I've left more in the ground than I've actually taken out, but I'm really glad I did take them out last year, purely and simply because we've probably had 6 or 7 named storms, rainfall like you wouldn't believe, and I'm sure that if I'd have left them all in the ground, a few of them might have come through, but I suspect quite a few of them would have got far too wet and started to rot off. So that's the job for today. I'll also be planting some Crocosmia. Now we do have a couple of varieties of Crocosmia or Monbresia in the garden. We've got Crocosmia Lucifer, which is a really tall red one, really vivid red flower, and that flowers about June and stays in flower for a couple of months. We've also got the more common variety, or the wilder variety of Crocosmia, which is a Monbresia, which is, I've got quite a bit of that, and part of my jobs to do is to actually reduce some of the clumps of that, so I'll be taking a little bit of that out, and that can go for recycling. This one here is called Crocosmia George Davidson. Now I will bring it up to the camera and just give it a, there we go, George Davidson Crocosmia, which is a yellowy one, and it says, for beautiful summer colour, plant between January and June. You could actually put them straight into the garden, and the reason why I'm not going to do that is I've only got a very small garden, and I've got far too many plants that I need to plant out. And when I get to June and I've still got loads and loads of plants in the greenhouse which need to go out in the garden, I then start looking for bare patches, and I sometimes forget that in February I've planted Crocosmias there, and then start digging them up and putting bedding plants in. So I'll put them in pots, let them establish themselves, let them shoot, establish themselves, and then create a small clump, and then I can pick my spot and put them out. So that's another job that I'll be doing today. So over here then you can see my cardboard box full of newspaper and Dahlia Tubers, which is what I took out the garden, and I wrapped them up in newspaper, and then I put them inside the shed just to sort of keep them away from the frost, and this is what they actually look like when I bring them out. So this one is called Dahlia George Van Heemstead, and I planted that out on the 6th of the 4th, so a little bit later. I think that was one that we actually bought after we bought this lot. But you can see it's got lots and lots of soil still stuck to the tubers. So what I'm doing today is I've actually got a dibber, and I'm just very gently teasing away the rest of the soil. One, I want to find out whether or not any of the tubers are damaged. I also want to just make sure that there's nothing in there eating away at the tubers that shouldn't be there, and also any damaged tubers I can cut out. So that's it's a fairly tedious job, but it's one that I think we need to be getting on with while the weather's a little bit not playing ball, as they say. So we keep now when I dug these tubers up, I did try my hardest to get as much of the dirt off from around the tubers as I possibly could, but because it was fairly wet and sticky, I wasn't able to get absolutely everything off. So it's a lot easier now. While my introduction earlier, I said that this dahlia was George something. I couldn't even read my own writing really. It's actually Glory van Heemstead, and it's a big tall yellow one. Now what I will do is go back over my videos and photographs of the garden and see if I can actually find a photograph or a short clip of it, and let you see that one. Anyway, Glory van Heemstead, that's what that one is. So that's this one here finished. I've trimmed off a lot of the loose wispy roots, which we don't particularly need. I'm still pulling off some of the small ones there now. That variety is called Luca, Joanna. And again, we bought that last year, and I planted that into a pot on the 18th of February. I've kept the packet, so that's what it looks like. And that one actually was a really good plant. Now what I'm going to do with these, I think some of the smaller ones I may pot on again, but such as this one, which is Glory van Heemstead, I don't think I've got a pot that would be big enough to accommodate that. And then what you don't want to be doing is just disturbing the roots too much when you actually plant it out into the garden. So that one, I'll save that one till about May, and then plant that one straight into the garden. This one here, Luca Joanna, again I haven't trimmed this one off. This one's called Vancouver, and I just had a quick look for the packet on that one. So that needs a little bit of trimming off and a little bit of sorting out. That may go into a pot. And of course, as usual, in my haste to get them out of the garden and into the storage, I've lost the label for this one. So this one will be now known as a mystery dahlia, as will this one. I did fix the label onto every one, or at least I thought I did. But anyway, there's two there that don't have a label on, so I'll just put those into a pot, so see how they come up, and then we can plant them out in the early summer. I've got another box to do, so I'll just continue on for the next sort of hour or so, and trim the rest of these little spindly roots and shoots off, and just pick off a little bit more soil from around the tubers, and then just wrap them back up in a little bit more newspaper, back into the box, back into the frost-free shed, and then we should be good to go a little bit later. Also in this video I'll run through some of the seeds that I planted out in January. Again, as I said in the video when I planted the seeds out, it's not something I've traditionally done in the past. I haven't always had the space, and that was one of my things in that particular video. You need the space not only to plant the seeds, also somewhere to germinate them and then somewhere to plant them on. So we'll quickly run through how they've fared. A couple of varieties of the tomato that were looking very promising, and lots of lettuce. Anyway, I'll go through that a little bit later. So what I've done is I've taken the rest of the soil off. The larger tubers have gone back into the shed to wait until about May, June time. The smaller ones, what I've actually done is I've potted those up. So here we have Dahlia Arabian Night. Over here we've got Dahlia Tropical Punch, and I think this one's Floriel, which is a white one, but again we'll wait and see. This one is one called Rebecca's World, and this one in the tray is one called Luca, Joanna. Now the reason why I've put it into the pot is I'd like to take some cuttings of Luca, Joanna, so I'll pop that into the propagator, give it a bit of warmth and a bit of water, and then it should start shooting fairly soon. And when the shoots get to about 3 or 4 inches, I'll just cut them off and then pot them up. In my hand here I've got a handful of very small tubers that have all fallen off the other tubers as I've been sorting them out. Now they're not damaged in any way, they're not rotting, so, and I don't know what they are, but let's have a little experiment here, and I'm just going to put them into this pot. Well, we know that way goes up there like that. That's another little piece. We'll stick them in there, sticking that one in there. We'll pot those up, see what comes up, and if we get some extra dahlias out of it, so much the better. So thanks for watching this particular section of the video. I'm now going to go and have a look at the seeds. So let's have a look at the seeds that I planted. All these seeds, except that one, all these seeds were planted on the 15th of January. Excuse me. Now we have some successes and some mediocre ones, and some that got terribly excited. Now this is tomato Shirley F1, which I grew for the first time last year and was really impressed with, so I thought I'd get some going early. But by God, they've really got on. I'm not sure whether they've gone a little bit too soon, but I'll prick them out and then see how we get on with that one. This one is a sweet pepper. Again, there's tons of them there, so I may be giving a few of those away. In this tray here I've got lamb's lettuce, which is a good standard lamb's lettuce. Now this is one that I grew and I planted in October, I think it was last year, and then I pricked them out in January, I think, or was it just before Christmas? Probably just before Christmas. So these little seedlings will turn into individual plants like that. Now I do keep them. I've got some on the allotment in one of my hoop houses, and I do have a tray and some pots down here in the bottom greenhouse. So what I effectively do is whenever we want a salad, we just come down and then snip a few off and then take one of those. So that's what this tray of seedlings will turn into in a couple of weeks time. Again, at the back here we have salad oriental mustard. Now this one's a great one for putting in salads, and again I've no intentions of pricking that out, even though they are a little bit sort of on the long side. I'll just treat that tray as a sort of a cut and come again. I'll just come down, snip a few bits off, and it will probably come up another 2 or 3 inches on that one. And again at the back you can see I've already started clipping this one. This one's called Salad Stir Fry Mix, and again we just come down, snip a few bits off, add it to the salad, and it goes really well. This is onion Ailsa Craig. And again, when I did the video of planting out these onions, I did say that this was the first time I'd ever grown onions from seed. Well, this is what the brown onions look like. Now I'm going to lose the will to live, I think, when I start pricking those out. But there's got to be, I don't know, 100, well over 100 seedlings there. So we'll see how they get on. Another onion here, which is a red Brunswick, again planted on the 15th of January. Not quite so many of those, but enough for what I need. Again, we have another one, another tray here, which is another frilly mix. I've got salad frilly mix, got stir fry mix, and oriental mustard. They're all slightly different and they all have a slightly different taste. Again, no intention of pricking that one out. That will just be a cut and gum again, and I'll just little microgreens with that one. Over here we've got pepper, Great Stuff F1. Now 1, 2, 3, I've only got four seeds germinated there. I don't think there was an awful lot of seeds in that packet, probably 6 or 8, something like that. But again, if four peppers plus this tray of peppers here, we'll have enough peppers to be going on with. And lastly was my tomato Ailsa Craig. Again, I grew these for the first time last year, and they've got quite excited as well. They're well on their way. They need pricking out. Not quite as tall as the Shirley F1, but I think I'll be able to rescue those. What I'll do with the tomatoes is I'll probably end up planting out another batch of them just in case, because although the stems do thicken up as they come along, they sometimes don't produce very good flowers. So those were the seeds that I planted in January. I do intend to plant some more out in February, but towards the end of February. Right, let's have a look at the sweet peas then. We've got two trays, two sets of trays of root trainers, and in this one here, what I did was I bought 2 packets of seeds and I split them in half. I put half into this tray here, and I planted those on the 2nd of October last year. Put them into this cool greenhouse, no heat or anything like that, so they germinated. And as you can see from this one here, once they get to about 6 or 7 inches, I cut that off. And then the next shoot that came out, I cut that off. Now this is the 3rd shoot. Now I'm going to leave that because next month they're going to go into the garden. Most of them are like that. Again, here you can tell it's had a couple of snips to it, but what they do is the stalks just get tougher and stronger, and then the final shoot that comes out is the strongest of the lot. So that's how I've always done my sweet peas. Now the other half of the 2 packets were planted out on the 15th of January, and you can see that most of the cells have some sort of germination. They don't all have 2. You can see in some of the cells there's two seeds germinating. Now they don't all have 2 seeds in them, so some will and I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can only see 5 cells that haven't germinated yet. So that's the sweet peas. I'm really pleased with those. Like I said, these will go out in March, and these will probably just go out a little bit later. So that's my sweet peas. Well, that's it for this video then. It was a slightly shorter one than I usually do. However, before I finally go, I'd just like to take you over to my allotment and show you the ground where my 2 plum trees used to be. If you remember in a previous video, I did mention the fact that my plum trees hadn't really sort of performed for the last sort of couple of years. Last year in particular, this last year, 2024 in particular, they were covered in flowers, and I was really hopeful that we'd get loads of plums this year, but it wasn't to be. Strangely enough, the plums only appeared on one of the two trees, so there was obviously very patchy pollination. I'll have to have a word with the bees and the flies and stuff like that when I see them next. But no, I've decided then to take them both out, and over the last couple of weeks that's what I've been doing.